I'm Brandon,
And I'm Brandon.
and welcome back to Apollo City Comics, your anything and everything comic book podcast. Dude, we have we've had a pretty exciting. We had I thought we had a week off. We just didn't record, but we did Miracle Man last, and that was a
Yeah.
fun little blast. We're gonna jump into some more Miracle Man again pretty soon. That series is just so complex, and I've been doing so much like back history homework on that Komodo book I have. It's super fucking exciting to like be jumping into that stuff right now. And we're gonna kind of pull back the brakes on the mainstream kind of indie stuff for a minute, and we're gonna go into the real deep dives once more. Always the fun and always the pleasurable. Talking to a creator today, which it kind of makes our lives easier. We didn't have to read this week, and it's just like the best thing ever.
We
I guess
didn't have to read this week.
I guess we did technically need to read. We had a press release and a book to read. I mean, it's a different kind of reading. You know what I mean? We're not having to break down and really
Take notes.
Yeah, take notes and do like big, investigative work on everything. We're going to do our investigating right now. So snuggle up and grab your cup of coffee that you probably got from coffeeandacomic.com, where Frank will set you up with a pull list, get all your variants. I just reset up my pull list lately, and because I really wanted Gotham City Year One, because I wanted like a noir, like Tom King detective story, and he had all.
You haven't read that yet?
I haven't. No, I haven't.
Oh wow, you're missing out.
I'm pretty hyped about it. I rewatched Chinatown the other night, and I was just like hyped, and I was like, I just gotta read this now.
You watch Chinatown, you're like, man, I could really go for some Batman now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So hit them up. I mean, dude, bagged and boarded books and coffee with your order, some stickers, some, sweet love on Instagram. If you give them a shout out, it's always a pleasure working with Frank, and it's so simple. And that new TMNT book, The Lost Years, is coming out. I know a lot of people are hyped about that. I got a copy. I'm not even a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan, and that book is fucking dope. So hit him up. Get your books through him. And let's kind of segue over to co-creator and illustrator. We have Mr. J. Red on the show tonight, talking about his book Abducted, that just launched on Kickstarter and is kicking ass on Kickstarter right now. Hey, Jay.
Hey,
How are you,
guys.
man?
Hey, what's
Thanks
up?
for having me. Great to
Dude.
be here.
You
Oh, yeah, man.
hit your goal in 26 hours, which is always a pleasure. You know what I mean? It gets that
Sure,
first
yeah.
anxiety out, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's a first for me. So, yeah, 26 hours, got a little over 100% funded. So, super psyched about that.
Man,
So
that's
today's
great.
a really good day.
I love hearing about like the indie books that just succeed like in that sense right off the bat, because it's always as indie creators and as indie you're putting something out into the world that like you're trying to just reach through the algorithm and whoever you can and partner with, and just getting that funding and those goals like locked in so you can expand and do other stuff. I know you're telling us before the show that you're figuring out some logistics on how to treat fans next, and I'm excited for stuff like that. How many Kickstarters have you done? What's your tenure with crowdfunding?
I've been involved with, I think, two before this, with Billy Diamond Jr. He's a collaborator of mine on some other stuff. We did a book called The Body, and then an anthology comic called Superposition.
Cool.
He and I and Zach Carrion, who's the writer for Abducted. And we ran those campaigns, kind of didn't really know what we were doing, just kind of figured it out on the fly. So kind of taking those lessons learned there and applying it here and doing things the right way from the start. So it's definitely been a smoother process on Abducted for sure.
Yeah, the Kickstarter's do's and don'ts are something that everybody that's been on the show has been very wary about, and just like, man, it's just gonna kick your ass for a minute, and then you're gonna figure it out, and you're gonna get through it and kind of prevail through. Why do you choose Kickstarter over other crowdfunding platforms? Do you have any decision behind that? Is it like a team group thing that you've kind of narrowed it down to?
Yeah, I think they just have so many people that have accounts on the platform. It just seems like the the best way to go about it. I mean, lots of people have Kickstarter accounts already, so it's not that hard for them to just go ahead and make the leap to back a project. It seems like.
Is Kickstarter like the most popular like site when it comes to crowdfunding? You
I
happen to
would
know by
say
any
so at
chance?
the moment. Compared to the rest of them, I feel like they're the most mainstream or most popular one. I know there's other ones that are rising, like Crowdfunder is like a comic book exclusive one, right?
Yeah,
Um,
crowdfunder looks pretty interesting. I sat in on a webinar they had a while back. The way they do things looks pretty cool. I might check that out in the future. But for
Mhm.
this one, yeah, we just decided to go with Kickstarter, um, mainly because yeah, they just have such a huge platform.
Yeah,
Nice.
so much reach that they have when it comes to like getting to people.
And so, where did the book come from? This is the collected edition, so you've had issues 1 through 5 out previously. Were those crowdfunded, and how long have you been on the stretch of collecting Abducted?
So 2017, 2018, Zach and I kind of came up with the idea for this. We actually had started it 10 years before and then got like 14 pages in and life got in the way, kind of got abandoned. And then around 2017, 2018, we were like, man, we need to bring that back and actually do it for real, you know? And so we just did it ourselves. We didn't do any crowdfunding. We were going to do it as a free web comic, and so we kind of released it that way. And then as it got further along and all the labor and everything, we're like, man, this deserves to be in print. So we had it printed in issue form. Kind of sold them around friends and family and kind of local conventions, and then sold out of that run of comic, just floppies. And then I thought, there's a bigger audience for this. What's a great way to get it out there? And I thought a collected edition, because that way we can get the whole series in one book. We can throw in a bunch of bonus content. We even threw in the pages from the very first time we tried to do
Nice.
this, the black
That's
and white
cool.
art from those in the bonus section.
Mm.
So it's kind of got the history of the project all in there. So yeah, it's over 170 pages, full color, a lot of bonus content. And yeah, we thought we'd crowdfund it. That would pay for the printing and also kind of help us reach a wider audience. And then Mark with Lesser Known Comics talked to me and was interested in kind of teaming up to partner with this. So through Lesser Known Comics, we are able to reach an even bigger audience and then offer a lot of the titles from the Lesser Known Comics catalog as add-ons or their own tiers in the Abducted Kickstarter campaign. So pretty cool.
That's dope.
Nice.
Yeah, Mark is just become one of those kind of gurus in this industry at this point with indie
Yeah.
creators to just help us just get out there and succeed. And, the Kickstarter guidance he provides is just like unreal, and I'm super hyped that you're in touch with him and getting help with that. Because it's his whole checklist of like how he kind of helps people out and the process behind it is really well thought out, and it's always just learning lessons and having to do it and kind of fail at a certain point. And I'm glad that that knowledge is being shared. And you're also printing through Comics Wellspring as well, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
we printed the floppies through them, and also are printing the graphic novel format through them. They do such an awesome job, and they're really quick, and their customer service is great, and so yeah, it's kind of a no brainer.
Yeah, they're that's another name that's popped up so much more in the last year, and I'm really glad those guys are getting a bigger bandwidth. I was, we're putting together an anthology, that punk rock anthology, and I had to
Yeah,
Google like some random question like, what's the size of the files need to be to send off, and blah blah blah. And the very first like thing that popped up, I was like, okay, let me click that, let me read through it, and I'm like, oh, it's fucking Comics Wellspring. Like, I should have just gone to this, and now it's just like a base for that website's filled with cool comic book
yeah,
information.
yeah. They have all
Um,
kinds of resources out there for anybody wanting to do this kind of stuff. So yeah,
and
they've been really helpful.
that's the cool part is that the indie community I feel has the most resources now than they've ever had before. And it's just
Yeah.
really helped everyone just kind of understand the process and the painstake behind it, but also the joy and fun in the end result. And I think once everyone has that book in their hands for the very first time, they see that end result and know they could pursue forward. Um, Dude, that's awesome. How long? So this like idea for the book was you're a co-creator from it. What inspired you guys to start going down this route and turn into this giant plethora of like content that you have now?
Yeah, we were always throwing around ideas for stuff to make, and we kind of really liked kind of UFO or conspiracy theory kind of storylines, X Files kind of stuff. And so we kind of came up with this and thought, this is one that could really have legs. And then so I think, yeah, it was around 2018. We started it, in earnest, and it kind of took through 2020 through the pandemic. By the time I wrapped up all the artwork and everything, and we hired an awesome colorist named Maya Opasik to do some colors on the book, and she just really knocked it out of the park and took it to a whole new level. And then she's working on a series called Tights now,
Oh,
and doing
oh,
really
nice.
great with
Okay.
that.
I
Nice.
knew that name
But yeah,
sounded familiar. I was just reading
yeah,
Tights the
yeah,
other day. Fuck yeah, dude.
yeah. I think Abducted was the first major project of hers. So we were lucky to get her on that.
Cool,
But yeah,
cool.
it's been a blast.
Dude, that's awesome. So where did you kind of start drawing? How long have you been at like at it, and also like kind of guided towards comics at the same point? Because I know that those could be two different
Yeah,
routes.
I'd say, I mean, I grew up drawing, and as far as comics, the early 2000s, we and some other friends kind of started making some little web comics, just posting on blogs, for ourselves to read mainly, and then just kind of getting better over time through that. I drew a couple of single issue comics, but just kind of did a small print run, and this is kind of before the crowdfunding days, so didn't really have a big reach there. So it wasn't really until Abducted that kind of everything came together to where we could kind of reach a big audience with it. So, but yeah, I mean, past 10, 15 years off and
Oh,
on, just
nice.
kind of getting better at it.
And did you like were you kind of there for like, you're kind of basically going from that traditional to digital aspect. What do you kind of prefer to work with at that point?
So for this, like, I started traditional on the first issue, and um, I this giant scanner that could scan in like 11 by 17 art, and cleaning it up in Photoshop and getting it ready for colors. And then over time, I got an iPad Pro, and when the Apple Pencil came out, I was like, this is kind of a game changer because I can just draw anywhere.
Hmm.
And so I switched over to that, and it sped everything up dramatically. I'd probably still be working on the project if I was going traditional. So yeah, I switched over. I do everything on the iPad now and Procreate pretty much. And it kind of sucks. I don't have, like, physical artwork I can
Hmm.
hold that I did, but the plus of just being able to crank out these pages at such a faster rate makes it worth it for me. So
That's super cool. We do a side segment here with one of my other friends, Dan, or our other friend, Danny. We do it used to be called Drink and Draw, but now it's gonna be just called Draw and Shit because we're just drawing everything at this point.
Drawing shit.
Yeah, like we just realized we weren't drinking anymore either, so we're just like, we're just gonna be drawing shit. If it's comics,
yeah,
figures, whatever. But we're always trying to experiment between traditional and digital, and it's been such a hard, especially for me because I'm learning how to draw, and that's the whole point of it. I'm just gonna like do a live drawing, figure the shit out as I go. Um, but traditionally things feel really well, but going to digital feels like more of a hiccup. Was that like a hard transition for you to kind of get used to I feel like the glass and everything just feels so much different than pen on paper in that sense, you know?
yeah, yeah. At first, it really was. It was pretty weird, and I was like, I don't know if I could draw consistently, because
Hmm.
I need a consistent style if I'm going to do a series. And so, drawing on glass, it is kind of weird. So I actually got this, I don't know what you call it. It's like a matte cover that
Oh,
you put on top of the screen, and it kind of gives it a little rough edge, like you're drawing on paper almost.
ooh, that's
I
cool.
think it's called paper like, but that helps. And then the new Apple Pencil's really, really good as far as sensitivity.
Hmm.
So I found that I can get a consistent art style out of it. Finally. And then, like, 15, 20 years ago, I had like a Wacom tablet where you're drawing on the tablet, but you have to look at a screen, and that
Yeah,
was just totally weird. Like, I never could get used to that.
Mm.
that seems
Um,
like mind-boggling there at that point too,
yeah,
the
Yeah,
precision
I've
behind it.
seen people like that are proficient at it, and it's kind of strange because they stare directly forward as they're like drawing. It's like you just kind of have to like go off like muscle memory almost of like the layout of the pad or something.
yeah, I could never get used to that. So, yeah, being able to just draw on the screen on the iPad, it's a total game changer. So yeah, I got to the point where, like I said, I could draw consistently. So I'm all set up how I need to be now, and I can just crank them out at this point.
That's cool. That's super
Nice.
cool. Yeah, that's figuring out like the brushes and the amount of accessories you have, I think with Procreate too, felt like overwhelming at first. I mean, it's just like
Yeah,
any
that's
new
another thing.
program that
Like
you get.
the more options is not always the better. It seems like
Mhm.
like
Mm.
I try to limit how many brushes I use and how many kinds of effects I use, and that helps a lot because when you just have everything at your disposal, it's just overwhelming, and you can end up just making just looks like mud. Just
Yeah.
done so much stuff. It's like
Yeah.
I need to simplify this.
Do you
Yeah.
do you ever find yourself when like drawing something like depending on the context of what it is you're creating, you feel like you're better off with like more like paper and pen kind of thing or paper and brush, paper and pencil, or do you feel
Sometimes,
like
like yeah, like you can get some like happy accidents, when especially like inking traditionally that it's a little harder to do digitally. So that is one thing that I do miss, and I may experiment with like a hybrid style, to kind of bring some of that into it. But yeah, I would say with especially with inking, that's where you can get some really cool results, kind of accident that's a little harder with the digital process.
Mm, that makes sense. Do you even do
yeah, I
like
can
the
see that.
same like order of things? That you do like pencils and like layouts, and then you move on to inking and stuff like that?
Yeah, so usually I have a little notepad and I'll do layouts, really small like page layouts on there and kind of work out, the page turns and, panel
Hmm.
count and everything there. And then once that's done for like a whole issue, I'll take a picture of it. And then as I'm working on a new page, I'll upload that picture, then zoom in, whatever page I'm working on, kind of blow it up to fill the screen,
Hmm.
set the opacity really low, and then kind of make another rough draft on top of that that's a little more cleaned up. Work on my panels, get them how I want, and then start the actual drawing.
Ah, nice. That's cool. That
Nice.
makes sense. It's probably just the best way. And then you have layers at that point, so it just simplifies it so much more.
Yeah, yeah. So
Um,
everything's layered. I can go back if I mess something up, and that's another thing. Just like you can always go back or layer things. That just makes digital work just so much more convenient.
yeah, and then just
Yeah.
inking with the eraser, I'm sure just like saves some lives every so while too. In that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
Uh,
also digitally, you have more room for not just error, but like at the same time, you're saying like having so many options may not be the like best feeling, but at the same time, you're like, well, I've got like a whole palette of colors I could test out without actually having to like commit to one, right? So I
Oh
imagine
yeah,
like there's some playing around with that.
yeah. Color scares the shit out of me. So yeah, being able to go back in and just change the hue on this whole page because I very rarely, if I'm coloring something, I don't get it right the first time. Like I have to go in and edit it. And that's probably my weakest point. That's my really took care of that for Abducted for us. So I was glad I didn't have to for Abducted.
Have
that
you
makes
ever? Oh, sorry.
I want to say, yeah, color is like when it comes down to any sort of drawing at this point for me, like inking kind of freaks me out because I know it's there and it's permanent. But then when I get to coloring, I'm like, I'm just gonna fuck this up. This is like not gonna come out right. And I'm trying to figure out that digital coloring aspect, but that's a whole new thing to even comprehend at that point as well.
And not even just the coloring, like the mechanics of it, but color theory on top of that. Like, does this color complement this color? And you know, does this
It
look like an outdoor scene versus an indoor scene? And yeah, it's a lot to take in.
yeah, it's a whole new book to study, and you're just like, damn,
Yeah.
I'm still trying to master this one a little bit more before I even try to take on this like big breath. But yeah, no, go on, Brandon. My bad.
I was gonna say, do you have any comics that you've colored yourself?
So I did a comics, just a single issue called The Body last year with Billy Diamond Jr. and I did the artwork and the coloring. He did the writing and the lettering,
Nice.
and so that got me a little better at coloring just through doing that. So kind of stuck to limited palette. It was mostly like outdoor nighttime scenes. It's kind of a sci-fi horror book. So yeah, just I didn't get crazy with the colors, but I felt like I got a good balance in there.
Nice. That makes sense. That's
Yeah.
super cool. Um, so what like, looking at your style, like it does feel very kind of like, looking at like early 90s comics from like Warren Ellis or Mark Millar and stuff like that. Like kind of just seeing like their line of work and then seeing the storytelling and the format of the story and also the way the art was kind of presented. It kind of felt along those lines. But do you have any like influences you can name off the bat that were, or what eras that really caught your eye when you were making this book?
I appreciate that. Yeah, so most of the comics I grew up on was like late '80s, early '90s, mid '90s stuff. So that's always been a huge influence on me, like early Image and Marvel stuff of that time. I don't know if my style looks like that to me, but that's kind of the influence in my head. But whenever I start drawing, it always just kind of turns into what it's going to turn into,
Mhm.
which I guess is my style. But yeah, as far as influences, I would say, yeah, early to mid '90s kind of mainstream comics.
Nice. Did you start off like mimicking some of that stuff for your artwork, or were you just kind of, or were you like a
Um,
real life kind of person that pulled from that aspect?
I mean, growing up, yeah, I would kind of like copy like drawings from comic books and stuff. As far as drawing my own, it was really more just trying to get better at drawing in general, like through the act of making them. So I wasn't really trying to copy a style necessarily.
Mhm.
Just I was like, this needs to look like a person. This needs to look like a truck. This needs to look like a building. And just tried to come at it from that angle, and then whatever style it ended up looking like, I guess, just kind of you know happened on its own.
Nice. Yeah, that's kind of like the hardest part, I think, for any creator is just like developing from what you're trying to pull from inspirationally, and also like, is this my style? Do I suck? Is this good? Is it just like who I am at this point? And that's been a big like learning curve, like just trying to learn. It's just like, okay, this is just what my art looks like. And
Yeah,
once
that's
you,
kind of how it is. Like whatever it's going to be, it's what it's going to be. You're not really, in my opinion, like that in control of it. It's just you try to draw your best, and you will have a style because you're a unique artist. So
Mhm.
the way you do things will have a repeatable, recognizable look to it, and that ends up being your style.
Yeah, and that's something I'm slowly accepting, like even the sloppiness and seeing how it's tightened up over, the past couple months of just trying stuff out every week. And it's like, oh, okay, like this makes sense. Like it's, when you think of style, especially if you're coming at it from writing, it doesn't really feel like you have a voice yet. I guess because it's not so visible as it is with artwork. And you're always trying to find your style of writing. Like, Lovecraft has a style, Morrison and Moore and Neil Gaiman and such, and those all stand out very well, and it's hard to like really recognize your writing as a style. But then when you look at artwork, it's just so visible in front of you. You kind of just
Yeah.
need to know how to mold it a bit more to make it fit whatever story you're trying to tell at that point, or have the story mold to your artwork. Really is what needs to happen.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned like sloppy versus like more tight. A lot of times, like the sloppier stuff can be the cooler, more interesting stuff. And so for me, it's like I'm trying to keep a lot of that and not
Hmm.
make it just too tight and too, because it can get kind of sterile to a point if you're just, you know, working it down to the minutia. So I like to keep some of that kind of spontaneity, kind of some of it can be
Mm.
sloppy and
Yeah.
and kind of add to the look, kind of add to your style.
You
Yeah,
know,
I mean, it's one of those things that like when you try to like make your work almost like too perfect, like you over obsess trying to clean it up and everything. I don't know if you feel the same way about this, but to me, I feel like a lot of the times what ends up happening is a lot of artists tend to start looking the same once they start trying to like follow a certain standard or keep their art so tight and pristine to like a certain industry, type of standard, to it all starts looking samey. So I don't know if you feel
Yeah.
that same way, but
Yeah, there's definitely like the same kind of look, especially from like, the big publishers. And I think that's to do with probably technology and modeling software. And a lot of the people are using the same processes, and they are, with digital, you can overwork it to death if you want. So yeah, I know what you mean there, where things can kind of look the same. And a lot of that spontaneity is kind of what I'm trying to hold on to kind of, add to my style. So I love to see that kind of stuff in other people's work too.
it's kind of just like what makes comics too, in a sense. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, and we talk about it on the show all the time that DC, their staple is like the Jason Fabok, Tony Daniels like kind of style, and that's the definitive like DC Jim Lee type of look at that point. And as we've done the show over the last couple years, we kind of have pulled more and more away from the big two into more indie stuff, because the indie stuff is just what's catching our eye, because it all feels fresh. It all feels like there's something new whenever you pick up a new book. There's a variety, and it's so flavorful when it's like, DC, we love the big twos, of course, it's like we love
Yeah.
comics no matter what. but it's like I love getting that dash of just like flavor from like an artist, or like looking at the preview book you sent us. Like that was just, captivating through and through, and it was just like
Yeah.
fun to just hang out and read it, and it feels refreshing. So people who are burning out on comics or just getting tired of stuff, it's probably just because you're reading from the same publisher more, and you got to kind of just spice up the artists and creators and types of stories that you're reading more than just like, oh, I just don't want to read right now. Just like
Right.
grab like an indie book, like Abducted is like such a cool read because of that. 5
Thank
issues,
you.
it's a
Yeah.
full story. It's something that you could go in and out. You don't got to know anything about histories and, comics and stuff like that. It's just something you could grab and fucking enjoy. And I
Yeah.
think a
Yeah.
lot of
So
comic book readers need that right now.
yeah, that's what we wanted to set out to do, is make just a complete story, a full series that's not too long. It's 5 issues worth, and yeah, I mean I agree with what you said. Like indie comics, everybody has their own style, and it's just pure creation from the
Yeah.
creator on the page, and it's not that many cooks in the kitchen, so you get a kind of a fresh take. Yeah, like you said. So that's one of the things I love about it too.
Um,
You
oh, go for it.
I was gonna say, speaking as about Abducted being like a complete story. I checked out I checked it out last night after Brandon sent it to me just before bed, and I was just curious. Like it does feel like a complete story, but it's one of those things. Like, do you ever feel like you guys would ever want to come back to it or expand on something, or along the lines of not necessarily something in a sequel, but something in the same realm of that world or anything like that?
So yeah, there was a lot of world building just to set up the story, and we definitely felt like there's more to tell in that world. And so we do kind of left ourselves the option if we wanted to tell another story in that world later. We kind of left it open to do that. So with these characters, it's a complete story for them, but yeah, we could come in and you know branch off on one character, a whole new set with a whole new set of circumstances. So that's something that we've kind of thought about. Nothing on the horizon yet, but maybe down the road that might be something we look into.
Yeah, never close yourself off to the option, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Too much work gone into it to do that.
Yeah. I mean, and going along those lines too, do you have any other upcoming work that you have planned right now or that you're working on to like get out pretty soon that you can talk about, or, start?
Nothing that's coming out in soon. I am working on a new series. It's just something I've come up with myself, kind of a passion project, kind of a thing. It's sort of a throwback to those early '90s, mid '90s kind of Marvel comics. My sort of take on those kind of stories. And I've got about 18 pages done of the first issue, the line art. But that'll be a ways off before I'm ready to bring that out. So, but yeah, that's what's next down the pipe for me.
Rad. Okay, cool. What about convention wise? Are you looking to hit up anything this year? Since
I'm
season's
hoping
coming up?
to, yeah. So I'm in the Kansas City area. I do a few conventions out here every year for the past couple of years. I'm hoping to do a Fountain City Con later this year. And then there's a few others. I just always keep my eyes open for little conventions here and there. Um, yeah, we've got a huge convention called Planet Comic Con out here, but I don't think I'm ready for that. I think it's like $700 for the cheapest artist table. So
Woo.
Yeah, that's fun.
Jesus.
yeah,
Man, you're like, I'm an indie comic creator. I could totally afford a good 1 grand on my my table.
yeah. Me and my closest 10 friends are going to buy the table.
Yeah, yeah, right. Straight up.
Hey,
Honestly,
guys, you
dude.
remember how you said you were my best friends and you support my career and my
Just,
growth?
just get the bunks behind there and take
Yeah.
turns alternating
Yeah.
promoting stuff. Yeah, man.
Guys, if we combine this as my Christmas and birthday gift and considering our friendship, I promise you'll make like $10 back.
Yeah.
Like,
We'll totally break even. Yeah.
Yeah, there you
you'll
go.
totally
Yeah.
break. You just don't even hide it. You'll break even, maybe. Like,
Yeah.
Are you like really like into cons and like, do you do them yearly and whatnot and have like a whole kind of setup and spiel whenever you're promoting stuff?
I've really started getting into them kind of around 2021 when things started opening back up.
Hmm.
as far as like having tables at conventions. I'd gone to a few before that in the past, but it wasn't till 2021 where I started kind of going to them every year and hitting a lot of them up. So that's been fun. Sold quite a few of the Abducted in the issue format through little local conventions. So it's been pretty cool.
Oh, nice. Do you hit up like local stores as well to sell your book and things like that?
I haven't yet. I probably need to, but that's one thing I haven't done yet. Zach, our writer, he has hit up a shop called Time Warp out in Boulder, Colorado, and they let him stock Abducted the series in the issue format
Cool.
in their shop. So that was really cool. They support local artists over there.
That's
Nice.
super cool. Yeah. That hustle and
Is
grind between just like post Kickstarter, getting your book somewhere and whatnot, and still relevant, no matter what. And there's never really a gap between stuff. You're always gonna be promoting it for years to come, I assume. And it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, that's another part of like you hustle for a month and then you kind of keep hustling right after that,
yeah.
you know?
yeah, yeah.
It's never ever done. You're just kind of like, hey guys, I have this book from like 5 years ago. People still need to check out.
Yeah.
I got a
Uh,
closet full of these things. Move them.
the
Yeah.
is there like a somewhat comic scene in Kansas? You said Kansas, right? That's where you're at.
Kansas City, yeah, Kansas City area. Yeah, there is. I mean, there's quite a few conventions up here and quite a few comic shops, and quite a few like professional creators live out here too. So yeah, it's a pretty good scene, I think.
I think
Okay,
like
so like
Jason
it's not.
Aaron lives out there too.
Yeah, yeah.
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 It's one of
Oh, he
the-
does.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah. I mean, a lot of comic creators work mainly from home, so they could be anywhere, right? Like,
Right. Yeah.
yeah. I guess I never would have thought of Kansas City as being like a place for comics, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we moved here in 2019, and I didn't know either until I moved here, and I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. This
Walking in,
works
like,
out.
oh shit, there's like 3 shops in there.
yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So your book, your Kickstarter's going on. It's, we're still in the first week of it as this episode comes out and everything. You guys are just launching through it. What about your other creators? Are they also like, have you guys been friends for years? Has this like developed like over one of those online forum boards where you guys are seeking each other out? Or how did this all
Yeah.
become into like
So
a 10-year project for you guys?
yeah. So Zach and I met in junior college back in Texas. That's where we're both from.
Oh, we're
And
in
then
Texas.
East Texas. Kilgore is my hometown.
Oh, nice. I'm in El Paso, way the fuck over on
Oh
the other
yeah, you're on
side.
Might as well
on the
be on the
other
other side of the country.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, he and I have been just working on stuff for fun, and we brought on Maya, who I found through Reddit. I just kind of put out a call looking for colorists, and her stuff was just amazing. So I hit her up; she was interested, and yeah, that's how she got involved. So
Rad, dude, that's cool. It's kind of
Nice.
interesting. You just seeing like it's like forming a band every time, and just seeing how the
yeah,
band has stayed together and like maintained their relationship over a few years. And technically, you've put out 5 albums, and this is just like your big like sonic compilation of everything. The story is like complete, and it's just like it's so cool seeing a full story being told in indie comics too, because I feel like everyone, we do a lot of launches of issue 1s, issue 2s, and then seeing a series go on from one creator, it's such a hard thing because it takes time. And I don't think people realize how long it takes to just get one issue out when you're not on that mainstream type of like monthly budget and accessibility and ability to even like make comics as a full-time thing. You guys are doing this like on your downtime and away from work and holidays and shit. And so it takes years just to develop like 5 issues and then a little bit longer to do that collected edition. So it's
yeah.
admirable.
And I wish we'd started with like crowdfunding from the beginning. We didn't really think of going that route. But yeah, I think that would have helped a lot. But yeah, we got through it. Just made it in our spare time. In 2020, I ended up with most of the year off from work, just like a lot of people did.
Hmm.
And so I just hit it hard and got the bulk of it done in 2020. So yeah, it was a lot of work, but it's nice to be on this end of it where, it's all done and now we're just kind of getting it out into the world.
And when did issue 5 come out?
So that probably would have been late 2020, early 2021, like January 2021. I think we made our first print order,
Nice.
and yeah,
I think yeah, it's a good
So
comeback time to circle
yeah.
back to that collected edition.
So overall, how long did it take to complete this story? From
Um,
concept
we
to
we
print.
uh, so the concept we actually came up with around like 2009, and we
Yeah.
worked on it then, got like 14 pages in, and then kind of life got in the way, so it kind of just went on the back burner. And then in around 2017, 2018, we kind of thought, remember that abducted idea? We need to do that and do it
Yeah.
for real.
So
So
yeah, I
we
remember
pretty
you
much
mentioning that
started
part.
from yeah, we started from scratch, and so it's a little different than the first idea we had. But like I was saying earlier, we include those pages in the first iteration in the bonus section of this book. So that's kind of fun just to see, because the art style is totally different, and there's like Nokia cell phones and these thick laptops, and it's just totally dated.
That's awesome. That's kind of like a cool way to
Uh,
like hit a certain moment in history that was kind of so brief, was just like that brick age of everything where it was very
the bulky
mobile.
tech.
Yeah, like it
Yeah,
was it was almost there to fit in your pocket, but you knew it was fucking there. You know what I mean? You couldn't
yeah,
hide it as well. And it was just like 10, like not even 10 years that lasted for. You know what I mean? It was just so
right.
fast.
Yeah.
So that's awesome, man. Um Dude, I'm super hyped to like read the next few chapters. Did a pledge earlier just to at least get like the PDF copies of your books and at least
Yeah, I
check them
appreciate
out
that.
because I'm excited to see where the story goes after reading the preview stuff you sent us.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Um,
Yeah, I saw that earlier. I was psyched. I saw the pledge, so thanks again.
yeah, no, of
Yeah, I'll
course,
pledge as
definitely.
well, man.
Yeah, we try to like at least get either one of us to try to get to a pledge to each person we interview. And we always like boosting you guys up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're excited for your next like projects that are coming out. I'm super hyped to see like your next partnership with Lesser Known Comics and see where that goes for you.
Yeah, me too.
They've done
Yeah, it's
so much
been
for other creators too.
yeah, working with Mark and Lesser Known just been really really great. I've learned a ton, and I hope he's getting something out of the campaign too. So hope all the other creators are too. We've got tons of books there for people to check out and add to their pledge. So hope everybody gets a chance to look at the campaign and get some great comics.
Yeah. Do you have any
Yeah,
other
totally, man.
plugs to throw in for like your Instagram or anything else you want people to check out?
You can check out, so my Instagram is J underscore red underscore art. So it's JAY underscore RED underscore ART. And you can kind of find everything that I'm doing through there, find the campaign through there. The Kickstarter, if you go to abductedthecomic.com, it'll redirect to the campaign, or jredcomics.com will redirect to the campaign. So that's the main thing I'm pushing right now. Zach and Maya are both on Instagram as well. So you check out mine and look at my latest post. They're probably going to be tagged, so check them out. And then another collaborator that I'm working with is Billy Diamond Jr. He's actually working on a poster design that we're probably going to do as a stretch goal. And so I think I forget his handle right now, but if you go to my account, you can find his stuff too through there. So
Yeah, who
Nice.
remembers social media handles? These people change them so often at certain
I
points
know,
too. I'm
right?
just like, damn it, dude. I wish I could remember. But that's like another. It's like remembering a
uh,
name and a nickname and another name. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
yeah. Can I ask one more thing before we wrap it all up entirely, though?
yeah,
Is so I was thinking about it, like realistically. So abducted, just to circle back, it's about like over 10 years of a passion project if you include this Kickstarter right now, right?
yeah,
Because you were saying from 2009 to basically up until now, right? That's like over a decade and everything, and that obviously shows a lot of patience is required to making a book, a lot of like tenacity when it comes to like marketing it and getting people to be aware about it. Now that you've compared to like when you first started and now at the point you're at right here and now, what's like some advice you'd give someone that's trying to like get their book kickstarted or get their book up and going?
yeah. It's a great question. I'd say have the dedication to see through your project, even through the shitty, like hard times where it's not fun and it's monotonous. You're going to run into those kinds of things. Just push through that, push through all that kind of resistance, and just get the actual work done. And then um, networking is huge, especially on social media. Um, that's, you know, most of the connections that I've made through indie comics have been through, you know, Instagram and, you know, Facebook, Twitter. So make connections, and then don't be afraid to promote yourself. A lot of artists, you know, they want to make their thing and then just expect the world to see it somehow.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, that's, you know, isn't how it works. So you just got to get out there and put yourself out there and market yourself however you can. So I'd say whatever makes you uncomfortable, dive into that the most.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
honestly, that's the big,
There you
dude. That's
go.
the best way to go about it. Like, and that's one of the biggest lessons we've kind of learned with the anthology and just like putting stuff together is just like you just got to go out there and do it and talk to everyone you can. And you know, if you summon them, they'll come. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy once you start giving other people attention and like you know respectfully, like you know, just talking and you know making friends over and building a community over Instagram and these social media accounts. Like indie creators are really big about wanting to support each other. And I think it's real different compared to other communities and like everything else that goes on social media. Like we're all just trying to get our art and work out there and none of us are really competing. We're just wanting to see the other person succeed and for us to like gain their support at the same time because we genuinely are, you know, we respect each other in the medium in that sense. And it's such a weird difference than I've seen from like musicians or, you know, like sports or things like that, where it's just like indie comics are just a different breed of people in that way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel, yeah, like if, you know, if somebody does well, there's a whole group around them that's also going to do well, and it's just, you know, make connections, and as other people do well, you'll do well, and you know, you support others, they support you. So yeah, it's a big collaborative community, like you said. So yeah, it's been a great experience.
And I think everyone's like
Awesome,
kind of
man.
looking to collaborate in some sense, or at least kind of hold that card in their pocket for when the right time comes, or when the idea hits them and that person's around, they're just like, fuck, this is where I have to go. This
Yeah.
is what's going to make this happen. And I think sharing the experiences of like Kickstarters and the process and, you know, the fails with the wins and stuff like that. And it's just, it kind of helps each other build a lot of more confidence and you know, knowing that if I fail, it wasn't, you know, all my fault. You know, I tried to give it my best. And it's taken, like you said, fucking a bunch of tries and years to try to get like a fully funded Kickstarter in X amount of time and have that relief at that point too.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, Jay, I mean, dude, it's been awesome having you on, and I can't wait to see this like in print. And I'm so hyped for you and your team. We'll definitely connect again
Thanks
soon.
again.
And
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been
man.
great. Been great being here. I appreciate you guys
yeah,
a
of
Yeah, of
lot. Yeah.
course.
course. We'd love to get your other collaborators on the show too. You know, help
Okay.
them out, get the word out there. We'd love to meet them. People that help make this book. You know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let them know.
Yeah, well, like you know, maybe we could do a panel thing at some point too. Love to celebrate with you guys and see what you guys are all up to. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But overall, man, this has been great and informative and inspirational. I'm gonna go make shit now. But thanks for hanging.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.